It is hot as hell in Georgia. What's going on, everybody? It's your man Leo Brown, and to my right, as usual, is
Sir Nick's-a-Lot in the house.
I finally got your name right on the damn screen.
Oh yeah, that's all good.
Had it spelled with an X.
You had it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
whatever works for everyone.
You know. Yeah. But yeah, man, we here. It's hot in Georgia.
It is hot. Yeah.
I feel like I'd start off with a little Nelly today, and you know, we were talking the other day. Where were we? Oh, we were in Assyria. And we were talking about the flight that got delayed from Vegas to Atlanta, Delta flight. And I guess the people were sitting on the runway for like 30 minutes in 111-degree heat.
You know the worst thing about that is the flight.
Right. I'm sure everybody missed the flight.
I mean, I'm hoping everybody's okay.
Right.
Like,
well, they said some people like passed out.
Yeah, they had to stretcher people off the plane.
Right. What kind of shit is that?
Man, I don't know. It was funny because like when we went out, you know, just so you guys know, we were PCA a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, we were.
And I think yes.
By the way, big ups to Nick for his first PCA from the Barrels and Leafs behind the brand team.
Man, it was a good time, but you know, I was expecting to be like super brutal out, and I mean, obviously we were inside a lot,
right?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be,
right?
I'm sure it's different when you're sitting on a plane on a tarmac
for 30 minutes
at midnight or
right.
at, you know, in noon, and it's, you know, again 120 output.
Right,
man. Yeah, I mean, we both had issues with our flights, which seems to be kind of the norm these days.
Thing.
But yeah,
So what'd you think, man? So this is your first PCA. Which happened last week. We got a lot of content, which we're still putting out, you guys. So just stand by. There's plenty that we're working
on.
Lot. But what'd you think, man?
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
This is your first cigar convention. Talk to everybody and tell them, you know, from the first day going to the Venetian, you see the PCA sign, and then you go in.
Yeah, I mean, it was really exciting. I mean, obviously the build up, you know, from your experience and Candace and everybody around the scene here. You know, obviously it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I think once we walked into the Venetian and kind of saw, I think when I started seeing people that I have been chatting with, whether it's been through, you know, Instagram or Facebook or just email or phone, seeing a face, and just, you know, I think it was just getting acclimated. You know, Friday, you know, we talked about this Saturday when we started the interviews. It was a little nerve-wracking because, you know, I'm still really new to the game. I feel like there's been a lot of information that I've absorbed, but you know, we're in a different setting out there, man. Like, you know, it's I think it went off really well. I think the way that you handled it and the way we set it up, I think it was perfect. It was just a lot, dude. Like it was
every day. Shit.
Every day, you know, you're up at 8, you know, you're not done till 4 or 5 with the interviews and the content, and then you're kind of continuing that into the night. And you know, it's like you probably did, got home and I literally slept off a day because it was just, I don't think you realize like what you're into until you get home and just take a deep breath and decompress.
I still ain't had enough sleep. Yeah. It's just one of those things, man. You just take your time and get readjusted. And the bigger thing for me, man, was, you know, seeing you guys' faces, you know, walking through that door. Because when we got there, it was Friday. It was before the industry party.
Yeah.
And we walked through. And I remember the first thing you said was, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that was because, you know, the way that the layout was, I get it. You know, the layout and you see the big stuff and all it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And I remember my first PCA and I walked in like the green was all over my body, not just in my face. Yeah. Everybody knew it was the first time, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think
it's amazing.
I think it's a mix of overwhelming and, you know, excitement. You know, like I said, when I first walked in, it was like, there's the Gurkha booth.
Right.
I'm like, damn. But man, you know, we got into Saturday, Sunday, and it was like, all right, we gotta you day to feel it out and to feel people out. And I thought everything went well. Met some amazing people. Like I think every single person I talked to, I don't think there was a one negative thing about the show. In my opinion, I thought it was set up well. I thought it was spaced out well.
Yeah.
I thought everybody's extremely gracious and kind, and you know, coming from a I guess a non-cigar. I mean, I am a cigar guy, but coming from that spirit side, it's a whole new territory. So for me, it was more of a learning experience. But man, just getting back home and then just talking to people and thanking them, and like them reaching out to you, and you know, we're already starting to talk to people about collaborations.
Who was one of your favorites?
Oh,
or just name a couple of them that you got a chance to talk to.
I mean, I think I mean, obviously Luciano. I mean, we've known him before, but to see their whole setup and to see the whole staff and actually meet his daughters finally was really cool. I really dug Jamond and Definition. I thought they were really cool. I thought his whole vibe was cool. I think that new cigar is absolutely out of Genesis, is absolutely out of this world. He was a treat to talk to. I mean, Steve Saka. I mean, you know that was really my first time really getting a little bit of an in-depth. That by far was probably the best interview of the weekend.
And I'll tell you guys. So the Steve Saka interview is gonna come out. I really got to take my time with this. Anybody who knows me that understands the premise of this show was the thanks to Steve Saka. And I got a little bit more out of him on this one. Rob said the first piece is like going to Candyland. Totally agreed, Rob. Totally agreed. That's my man, Rob Loud. So yeah, Steve's interview was totally different.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It threw me
a
little bit. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah. I was there. I was filming the whole thing. I saw it.
I don't know if you saw, me, but it was.
Oh,
it was
yeah. No. It was like I said, it definitely was one of those that you didn't feel like it was all about, the
Sorry about that, folks.
Wow, we're gonna oh
All right. I think we're back.
Wow.
Yeah. A little bit. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, Bertrand. We're back.
Ah, you're back. Okay.
Little technical difficulty. We're gonna blame it on the heat.
Blame it on the heat. So anyway,
yeah. So no, it was great. I know that was that interview was obviously very personal for you. You could tell it was personal for all of us. Everybody was great. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think, just in terms of just star power and people that I wanted to see, like Luciano, Steve Saka, the guys at El Septimo, I learned a lot more about them, knowing very little except they had a spirits line, but to see their setup and to see what they're doing was really interesting. Just like the boutique section was great. Seeing Kevin and
Oscar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin, Oscar, like all the guys, Conscious, GTO,
OM.
Oh my God, just already talked to Osvaldo. Already talked to him about, so it just was, it was cool.
Was it anything like a whiskey event?
No, the spirits events are a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, I will tell you this, they're not nearly as intimate as what we've seen at PCA. I mean, you're walking up, you may get 2 minutes with someone, you're sampling something and then you're moving on. I mean, it's not set up the same way. I wish it was.
We're different and we're special. We get to sit down and fucking talk to people.
No, absolutely. I wish beverage events were structured a lot differently, but they just have a different vibe,
Right.
They're being attended by bartenders and beverage managers and food and bev people, and it's just different. It's like you're not getting those intimate conversations, and you may be able to talk about the brand for a few minutes, i.e. why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a completely different a vibe there, like seriously, just in terms of being able to just walk up and talk to people and them giving you your time. I mean, it was a sales convention.
That's correct.
I mean, you forget that they're there to make sales
money
and to make money.
Right.
And to be able to have their time is, I mean, it means a lot to, I'm sure, to you. I mean, to me, being an outsider, it was great to see how it works.
Well, this is my thing, man, is that, the first one is always the break of the ice. You know what I'm saying? So now that you've seen it, you understand what it looks like. Yeah. Now it's time for round 2. Right. Which PCA is moving up the date. In case anybody doesn't know, it's going to be in March. It's going to be the 24th through the 26th.
Yeah.
Be ready for that. TPE is going to be right before that in January. Yeah. So, we were asking the questions of, what do you think about the timing of that? Which one do you think that you're going to go to? Most people are going to be going back to PCA versus TPE. Obviously, TPE has a few less cigar representation there. It's mostly on your CBD, your Delta 8, Delta 9, all that good stuff, the glass and all that. But, it's not truly made for tobacco or cigar tobacco. So that's going to be interesting about how it's going to work out.
In a different area. We were talking to Don yesterday and how it's in a different, it's not going to feel. I mean,
PCA is what he was talking about. So PCA is going to be in the convention. We did that for the past 3 years. Well, no, we did the Venetian last year. This year, the year before, it was in the convention center for like 3 years prior.
Okay, cool.
So it's a good time, man.
Yeah, no.
So we'll look for year 2. Nick's gonna get a chance to see the convention center versus the Venetian. We got a lot of good information from the PCA personnel. As far as the attendance. The attendance was a lot better this year versus past years. And sorry, I'm gonna go through a couple of numbers here. So it looks like last year there were 2,300 accounts being retailers.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
This year it was around 2,500.
Wow. That's crazy.
So 200 more. Yeah, it's a pretty good number.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's trending up, so that's always a good thing.
Last year there was 938 retailers. This year was 987 retailers. You got 52 new associates that joined. Some of that might have been previous people that just didn't pay their membership.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, more of new associates joining.
Yeah. No,
and then you got, I think it was 189 new or comeback retail stores themselves.
wow. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to put the data into words. Like, you don't realize that there were that many people there.
Right.
Because again, it was just so spread out. I thought they did a great job of not crowding it. And
Right.
you know how some of those events, those conferences you can get at, and it's like you're shoulder to shoulder with people just standing around booths and shit. And it was not like that at all.
Well, you know what?
So-
I can say PCA does a good job of where they put the location for the convention.
Yeah.
There's talks right now about it either going back to New Orleans
Yeah.
or then after that, maybe Florida. Don't know right now.
Can we put it somewhere where it's not in the South or the West during the summer? That's all I ask.
Hell no, man. Because look, when they do it next year,
Yeah.
when they do it next year, so it's going to be in March. Then when they go to New Orleans, it's going to be in April.
All right. Well, that's better.
I don't
It's
know.
better
It's
than
still gonna-
July.
still
It's
gonna
gonna be
be-
hot, but it's
yeah.
not July, dude.
Yeah, but it's going to be muggy as hell, though.
It'll be good.
All right, man.
All right.
So,
So should we move Fire It Up to the end so we can get old Bertrand on?
that's
what do you
up
wanna
to
do?
you, brother.
Let's
I'm
do
with it.
let's do Fire It Up at the end.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we cannot do, we cannot roll by our sponsor.
No, for sure.
JM
For sure.
Patriarch.
Patriarch.
If you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
So you guys, please make sure you go out and get your JM Patriarchs where you can find them.
Yes.
We know one exact spot where you can find them right here in Atlanta, and that is Cigar City Club.
Oh yeah.
It's always good to go in Cigar City Club and see that JM Patriarch on the shelf. You can also go to Red Phone Booth and find them as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I need to stop in there soon.
Yeah.
I love his man. By the way, congratulations, Maurice, on his second year.
It's 2 years.
That's pretty awesome.
Give it up. Give it up.
Yeah, I mean it's really great to see. He's such a good dude.
Mhm.
And you want to see people like that succeed. So but man, it's just I'm starting to like get obsessed with his logo. Like, it's just I love visual, like I love brands, and I love his logo. And like every time he's been posting this week, I'm just like, fuck man, that thing is cool.
He talked to me a lot about people giving him shit about his logo because they're confusing it with Nestor Miranda's logo. And it's really nothing close.
no,
It's really not. When you
Yeah,
look
it's
at
just
it,
someone,
it's not.
it's just someone being an asshole.
Of course. There's always those.
I mean, I'm an asshole.
But
Anyway.
nevertheless,
Yeah.
none further going than let's get into what we are here for.
Yes.
We have a special guest on, as you guys know, every single week. We always got somebody new, maybe even somebody old that you've seen. But this time, I can definitely say it's my first time ever meeting this man.
Yeah.
First time ever trying this brand. And I cannot wait to get this man in here. You guys have seen some of the posts, I guess. Welcome in, Mr. Bertrand. I'm not even going to screw up your last name.
Verduzier.
I'm going to let Bertrand tell us how he says his last name.
Right.
I want to get it right.
Verduzier.
Verduzier.
That could be an option.
That's an option. Okay.
It's not
Verduzier.
easy. It's not easy.
We've had a lot of we've had a lot of guests from France on Bertrand, so like I feel like we're getting a very astute lesson in French pronunciation, so that's good.
The problem that I have is that I need to take some French classes.
No,
People
no, for
keep
sure.
bringing the French people in.
Yeah, I know. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. I'll hook you up.
How's it going, good sir?
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I can't wait to get started. Nick has been doing a lot of good introduction to me to the French side of the world when it comes to spirits, as far as Armagnacs and brandies and things of that nature. So I'm excited to understand what it is that we are drinking today. I'm going to let Nick introduce that because I probably can't say it.
So Frapin was really one of the first cognacs I got started on, and actually I'll show this, see if Bertrand can see this. I actually won this. I found this in an auction in London. It's actually a 12-year-old cask strength Frapin, and it was really one of the first things I'd ever had. And then right now we are drinking the Fontpinot, Chateau Fontpinot, which has a very big significance, which Bertrand can touch on in a minute.
That's what we're drinking?
Yeah, so this
Holy
is
crap.
the Chateau Fontpinot XO.
This is beautiful.
It's beautiful stuff. Yeah, Bertrand, let's just dive into this. You've been with them what, a couple years now?
Oh, I've been for 8 years now.
Oh, 8. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. 8 years traveling the world, you
Yeah.
know.
So what is
And
your I'm sorry, what is your exact position, sir?
oh, my position is international business director. So I'm basically in charge of the brand to develop in the markets.
Got it.
So this is really exciting. Obviously, the big news with you joining up with PM Spirits, being distributed in the USA. It looks like in Georgia we're still waiting on a few things to play themselves out, which I won't get into. I don't want to make anybody mad. But tell us a little bit about how you met Nicholas and how that conversation went with bringing Frapin over here.
Yes, well, I was. I read about him. I think I didn't know him before we started the conversation. I read about him, and it triggered something. And I thought, well, he's very much into artisanal spirits, terroir-led spirits. Of course, he's French originally, so he's bringing a lot of brandy from our shores. And I rang him, and we had a conversation. And that was 2 years ago. And one of the first thing he told me is that, well, you're from Frapin. One of my favorite cognac is actually the one you are tasting now, which is the Fontpinot XO, which is very typical, probably our signature product. So it was a good start. So I thought, okay, well, let's have a conversation, and and we started working together. So, and he's as you know, he's very passionate. He's very much into details, and we thought, with what we have to say about Frapin to the US markets, we need an ambassador that's able to tell about those details, about to bring the right product to the right people, and all that. So, yeah.
I got a guy for you right here.
I'm the unofficial. Nicholas, I think Nicholas and his staff are probably tired of hearing me hit them up every time. When is this coming in? When can I get it? Where can I get it? We live in the South, so I don't know how much you've been to the Southeastern United States, but we're bourbon country, so it's sometimes incredibly difficult to find certain things from around the world here. But I love Nicholas and I love their staff, and they've done like you said, they've done an incredible job for boutique and family run and all the people that maybe don't get a necessary say over here. So it's nice to see. Yes, it's exciting. Definitely. So let's talk about Frapin. Very old. I mean, we're talking on the 21st generation. That's incredible. I mean, it's when you think about it, you're going back to 13th century. Now it's Jean-Marie Contreau is the CEO, I believe. Jean-Pierre is actually 21st generation, and now the 22nd generation has joined the company as well. So the story continues. Yes, it's quite amazing. The thing is, we have the records of the first of the Frapin being born in the area, in the Charente area. So we know actually very officially that he was born in 1270, and we know that at that time his family had planted some vineyards. And what's interesting is that they planted it in the very same location where we are still today. And it's been the story has been a continued story all the way. It's always been Frapin people
generation after generation, being able to develop their, sense of making wine in this area, and then in much later years making cognac. But it's about wine to start with. So how did this happen? I guess that a lot of them, when you look at the family tree, a lot of them were people with a lot of character, a lot of entrepreneurship. At various times in the history, you see people that play a special role. They have a special position. So at the time of the kings, for instance, you have some of the Frapin that work not too far from the court. You have one of them in the Renaissance times. So we are talking about the early 16th century. Is maître queux in French, or master chef, which means he's the head of the cuisine, the head of the kitchen for the king at that time. You have another one that was the apothecary so he's doing medicines, he's working with plants, also at the court of the king. So you always have characters that are able to be involved with important people, I would say. So they always managed to extract from just being farmers, which is what they are, and continue to develop things, have ideas, and of course with the beginning of cognac, the way we know it today. You have one of them, Pierre Frapin, or Peter for you. Pierre Frapin had a very difficult time, because obviously it's always been very difficult. There were a lot of, wars. There was a lot of difficult moments, but they always managed to rebound. And Pierre Frapin, in the middle of the 19th century, and especially, after the recovering from the phylloxera disease, in 1872, and for a few years, it's really the time where he decided that he should replant the vineyard, blend new products, goes to Paris to the Universal Exposition, propose his blends, and he received great acclaim. So there is always this sense of being, dynamic and trying things, which probably, and until recently, we try to continue to, it's been expanding the vineyard, for instance, because obviously we work with our vineyard, but developing the vineyard, in circles around this place of Château Fontpinault, and trying to be innovative, but always with a sense of continuing the story, some sense of quality, terroir expression, and all this, and adapting, of course, to the environment and to the modern times. So it's a very, very long story.
Yeah, it's and you, I think this year, celebrating the 100th anniversary of with the Fontpinault, Chateau Fontpinault 100th anniversary. So just got the preview looks. It's beautiful. It's going back to the kind of the old labeling and design. So it's very cool to see.
Yes. Chateau Fontpinault XO was released for the first time in 1923. So we are celebrating 100 years of this specific blend.
Wow.
Which, as I said earlier, is probably our signature product, because it's completely relates to the chateau itself. So the chateau itself, it's a castle It has become a castle. It was a farm to start with, and then it was a big house, and the fact that it was there for a long time with its surrounding vineyard, which is always the center of our vineyard today, has given us the opportunity to be able to claim a single estate appellation, which is quite rare. It's quite rare, generally speaking, but it's rare also because the way cognac is produced today, which is a lot of négoce, which is a lot of farmers working with brands. And obviously at Frapin, we are farmers and we have a brand too. So everything we do is coming from our vineyard, and everything that goes into our products is only coming from the vineyard. So we are very strict into this. We have our tradition, if you want. So it's a bit unique, I must say. And it's a bit unique to this level as well, because now we are on 240 hectares, which is relatively large for a single estate in Grand Champagne, which is the first growth of cognac. So it's the Frapin style is just a marriage between this place, which is a fantastic place, and a family. Voilà. That's what Frapin is. So Frapin can never come from somewhere else, and Frapin can never come from different people than the family. So that's really, if you want, the backbone of everything.
So Bertrand, if I can ask, is Frapin, is that just a name, or is that something that is specific to the country? What exactly is Frapin?
Frapin is the family name.
Okay, got it.
It's the name of the family, a family that, when they arrived in the 30th century in the Cognac area, were coming from the southwest of France, and then they established in this location. But it's actually the name of the family, and Marie Frapin. She was leading the company in the 1960s. So she was the last to bear the name, because obviously she married, and in France you take the name of the husband.
Yes.
But Jean-Pierre Cointreau, who's the owner today, is a Frapin from his grandmother, Marie Frapin. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to wrap your head around that they're on their 22nd generation.
Right.
What I've noticed, Bertrand, really talking to some of the smaller families in Armagnac and Cognac, that it's like any other thing in terms of especially the spirits. It's almost like in the family's blood, and it's just one of those things that gets passed down, but nothing from that. Like you said, you start at the farming. That's the most important. It's growing the grape. You have to have good wine to make good eau de vie, and I think a lot of people kind of miss that part. We're so focused on, especially in the United States, we're so focused on wood and distillation and things like that, which are fine. Like raw material, you have to have good raw materials no matter where you live. But I think the biggest thing with France that people need to understand, especially it was in the 17th century. So like when France was making grapes, they didn't know really how to distill.
Right.
The Dutch came down and said, "Hey, this is how you make it." And then, so it's all about wine for France. So I think that's the biggest thing people like. One of the biggest things we need to touch on is that it's a wine. And you can't.
Wait a minute, man. Cognac is a wine? I'm just kidding.
It is, yeah, you're right. It is. Everything depends on the quality of the grapes that we pick, on the timing of picking the grapes according to each parcel, because even though we are on a single estate, there are little variations. And if you want to do the work, if you want to pay attention to those little details, when you have one typicity of terroir, when you have one grape variety, when because of your tradition, you're going to approach distillation and aging in such a way, if you're ready to look at little details, starting from the vineyard, you can find the different shades that will lead to complexity, which is the goal. So
Yeah.
but yes, it very much starts with the grapes, with the wine, with all these things. It sets the bar at a certain level, and we can only reveal this potential if there is a potential. So we need to be very precise and very careful on the grapes that we pick. And of course, the distillation is a way to reveal this, and the aging in barrels is a way to reveal this. They are a way to convey things. They are not a way to turn things differently.
That's a good point. I think, and I want to dive into this a little bit. We're gonna nerd out a little with Bertrand.
I like nerding out.
So yeah, just so everybody knows, we have Bertrand from Frapin, Cognac. We barrels and leafs. We are coming from Smyrna, bourbon and cigar.
Right.
So just wanted to shout out to Jimmy and his staff again for having us.
And keeping us coming back.
Oh my God, I don't know why he hasn't kicked us out yet. So let's talk a little bit about this. A couple things, Bertrand, things that jumped out to me, and it seems like it's happening a little more often, and maybe you can expound on this. So you guys distill on the lees.
Yes.
Very important part of Frapin. I know a couple other houses that also do this. Explain the process of this and what it adds to the Frapin liquid overall.
Yes, well, and because of what we said before, it's about wine, and the lees are natural into the wine. The lees are actually, deposits, remaining elements that naturally come from the plants and from the pulp of the grapes. So you have two different kinds of lees, and after you've done the harvest and after you've done your vinification, transforming your must into wine, you have a remaining deposit at the bottom of the vat, which is quite thick actually, and those are the lees, or the dead yeast, if you want. And those elements, they contain a lot of what we call esters, and they have a lot of potential for what we call fat acids. And if you want, those elements are very interesting to keep during the distillation, because they're going to help to construct the aromatic structure of the cognac. They are going to help, what we said before, is to reveal the aromatic potential, because of course the distillation is a concentration and it releases volatile elements. And those elements, they are going to go along in the pot still, they are going to go along the alcohol. They represent a very small proportion of the alcohol, of the liquid, but they are very important to reveal a complexity. Technically, we talk about, if you want, adding sucrosity, which is kind of if you want, the fruitiness of the grapes, and suavity, which we could translate as something like a kind of softness. So distillation with the lees is interesting, but depending on your goal, like everything else, depending on the fact that you're going to age your cognac for a long time. So those elements, they are going to play a role in releasing the aromatic complexity of the cognac in the long term. So it's quite important. But what's difficult, if you want, in the distillation, is as much as you've got those elements from good grapes, from a good terroir, because we are going to reveal the quality of the terroir. What's very difficult is, of course, because the way they're going to transmit into the spirits at the end is very diverse in terms of timing. It's very sensitive to the heat. It's very sensitive of how you're going to manage your distillation. That's why, and it's also going back to the fact of taking care of details. We need to approach distillation in, and being very careful with these words, in an artisanal way, which means that it's about people, running every single pass or every single distillation individually.
Right.
There is no set program. There is no computer. It's about people, and they are going to take decision on every single destination, on what is the good timing, the good way to eat the wine, and of course, when is the good moment in order to keep those volatile elements, when the good moment to cut in the distillation. For instance, after the second distillation, the heads, which are too strong, even though sometimes the heads can contain some of those interesting elements. So you need to be very precise, and that's true artisanal approach, is to be able to understand, because of your terroir, because of your experience, when is the good time to bring, some little differences in every single distillation. So it's not something. It's something that every producer potentially can develop for themselves.
Right.
But yeah, so basically it's those kind of fat acid and esters that are going to bring a complexity, which at the end of the day, in the final product, is going to keep also, because people think all cognac, it has to be, darker aromas, what we call third aromas and that. But the complexity is a way to keep a lot of freshness.
Yeah.
Into the cognac as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point.
Is a large window, if you want. It's a large spectrum.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because again, I mean, and we're going to make comparisons to this because of where we live, but with bourbon, you're having different influences. That wood is attributing most of the character to that certain whiskey. In cognac, it's different. Like, people almost assume that if something is 25, 30, 40 years old, that it's going to have those elements of just oak and rancio, and sometimes rancio when you get older, but just the vibrancy and the freshness and the fact that you can almost taste the wine still in something that's 20 to 25 years old is interesting, because again, everything kind of has their role, the wine, the lees, the oak, etc. And just tasting the Fontpinot, and again, we can get Leo and Naomi's input on this. I mean, it's just such a supple, like rounded, like when I think of lees, the fattiness and the esters, I think that's what's going to transfer in my mouth. Like, there's this almost this roundness and suppleness to it that stays on the tongue, and it's just so beautifully floral, but just a nice mix of spice. But it's but it's just a beautiful for that up to that 25 years of age. It's just not what what some people would not expect from a cognac, because they don't know, they don't know what to expect.
No, I mean, I can say that, when I know I'm not saying this right, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's a balanced type of cognac. And like Nick said, there's a little bit of spice, there's a little bit of sweetness, there's a little bit of oak, you can taste all of that in this one sip. And it just draws every sense of the palate just forward. I mean, on the finish, it's not a long finish. It's very quick. It's there, then it's gone. It's just a well done cognac.
Yeah.
Yes, it's if you push aging, you want to make sure that everything has been prepared for the additional aging to bring more complexity, to bring more aromatic, but not to lose on the primary and the secondary aromas. You want always to keep the freshness. An old-aged cognac should not taste necessarily old. It should taste complex, and that's
Correct.
what we need to that's a message that we need to
Yes.
convey. Is that it's those different layers, and the decision of the lees will help those different layers to appear, if you want, those different dimensions. But you want your cognac. You are talking about the rancio. The rancio is something that can happen in Grand Champagne, and for us, we don't see anything happening before 15 years in cask. That's really the beginning where there is another step. But it's just the beginning. So you need to continue. Our oldest cognac, over 40 years old, over 60 years old sometimes, the main element probably from them is that striking is the freshness that we have. And then you have all those kind of layers. It's not just tasting old. It's not just on the coffee bean, chocolate, leather, cigar box, and all that. You want this, but you want to retain what's coming before. And that's very important. And the Grand Champagne, because of its terroir, because of its soil, which is chalk, keeps a lot of the freshness, what we call the minerality. Also, it brings a lot of acidity into the wine. It brings a lot of its freshness. So you can go a long way without losing, without becoming too heavy and too dark and you can keep a lot of brightness. That's the terroir that really speaks when it comes to Grand Champagne.
What's your youngest bottle right now?
The youngest bottle, we intentionally called it 1270.
So that's essentially your VS.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's technically speaking, or in terms of the appellation, it will fall under the VS appellation. The reality is that there is no VS made like this in Cognac area. The reality of 99% of VS you have from Cognac, given the structure of the way Cognac is set in terms of production, they will all be 2 years old in reality. Wow. Our VS, which we don't call a VS, because if we say to people it's a VS, people would not necessarily understand. We call it 1270 because it's the entry in the world of Frapin. And in reality, we don't have any cognac that's 2 years old that goes into a blend after 2 years because it's too early. You don't have the time to adjust, to balance, and to digest, especially the young tannins of the new oak. So it really starts after 3 years. And 1270 would be typically a product that we like to use for cocktails, for instance, for aperitif, on ice, or something very fresh, very floral. But it's a blend which is around 5 to 6 years, depending. So it's not really a VS the way people know it in general. So we don't call it a VS.
Yeah, no, I like that. And so really quickly too, and I know we're getting up against it, but we always are, so whatever. But yeah, again, talking with Bertrand Verduzier from Frapin. I mean, we could talk for hours about this, but one other thing I want to chat with really quickly before we go into our rapid fire, and then our fired up, is this is kind of a stunning stat for me. I don't know if it's alarming or what your thoughts on this are. I mean, the U.S. obviously is one of the largest importers of cognac in the world. For me, the issue is upwards of 90% of it is VS and VSOP, and we know a lot of that is coming from the big 4 or 5 houses. We know that cognac has had a reputation in the last 20 or 30 years of how it's been marketed in the bars. A lot of that liquid is going into cocktails. Do you think this is a problem, or is this something that's going to kind of pave the way for things like the XOs and the Hors d'Age and the Napoleons and these single casks, these where we can see what actual cognac is, or is this just the nature of the beast?
No, I don't see it as a problem as long as there is quality in the glass. The reality, people want to drink cocktails, they want to go into bars. There are very good quality bars with very good quality bartenders, and they need good products for that. And, you know, our idea in producing 1270 was to provide good products to make great cocktails.
Yeah.
So I don't see a problem, no, at all with that. It's a different segment. It's a different pleasure. You can have your cognac, you know, at different moments and for different pleasures. And there is not a better moment to have that another. I think cocktails is completely part of the game, and it's completely fine. But we need to provide the right product for that. The product that has brightness, that has edge to it, that has freshness, and that can cut a little bit the angle with the sweetness of a cocktail, that can really bring a lot of structure, and you have something which is alive, and you can really taste the product. And, you know, if you do that, it's completely fine, that like you would do with other spirits. So cognac, and it's not big news because it's been, you know, integrated to cocktails for a very, very long time. And if it's coming back today, I don't see it as a bad thing at all. You know, it's a matter of, let's leave the people to play the way they want with their cognac. They want to bring some XOs and put a bit of water into it. You know, they need to navigate between Scotch and bourbon and cognac and apply their own recipes and put a bit of ice, and I don't know. I think it's the quality of the product which is important. But you know, bars. You know, what is a bar? You know, if it's a destination, if you can have an experience, if there is good atmosphere, well, I hope the change is for people to that goes to those good places or nice places to apply this philosophy to what they drink, because at the end of the day, what they see, what they hear is something, but what they absorb in their body is quite important as well.
Of course.
You know, so I mean, I'm saying a
very obvious thing, but
we are working for that.
Yeah, good point. All right, so let's get into this quickly. So Bertrand, as you may or may not know, we have our favorite end segment here. We call it rapid fire. We ask you a few questions, and you have to give us your answer as quickly as you can. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I don't know what it is about, but I'm ready.
Oh, that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Okay, first question. Favorite grape, Folie Blanche or Uni Blanc?
Uni Blanc, because it's the one that works for many type of products, and that's reliable, and that does everything that we need. There is a very good reason why the ancients before us, the previous generation, because here we are talking about, you know, generations after generation preparing the future, and there is a good reason why they thought Uni Blanc is something that works very well. So we are very happy with Uni Blanc, which doesn't mean that we are not trying and continue to try and be innovative and working on other options, but I will let you know next time.
Okay. Okay, next question. Do you smoke cigars?
Not very often, but sometimes yes, but not very often. A bit less than before, I must say.
Do you have a preference in terms of one of Frapin's expressions that you would pair with a cigar?
Well, I guess that with Frapin, generally speaking, we like to go for something which is more on the refined side than on the power. You know, something which is probably more delicate than too strong. You know?
Yeah,
so that's going to be more of a mild cigar then.
Yeah, I would think just with that. Yeah, you don't want something that's too over the top.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing too.
Okay. All right. So you may know that we have Mount Rushmore here, right? So we have 4 of the most influential presidents in the U.S.
Yes.
That's what we're going to believe. I mean, people's, opinions change.
Yep.
So you've been in this industry a long time. Who are your 4 Mount Rushmore in terms of the industry? Who are the 4 people or brands that you would put on that facade?
You're talking about Cognac specifically, or
No, it could be. I mean, it could be anything. It could be your father. It could be a brand. It could be a bottle. Whatever. Who are a person? But who are your 4 people?
4 people.
Yes.
Oh well, that I should have thought about this before.
No, sir. We
That's
like to
why
put
we
you on the
asked
spot.
It's a very difficult question. The 4 people, I would definitely I would try and take people from different places, different industries. I like to put Epicure to start with, which is an interesting philosopher, and which is I'm trying to understand more about it, and which is quite one of the 2 legs of our civilization, and so Epicure is an interesting person. I would like to put, of course, a musician into this band of 4 people.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of rock music, especially of the 70s, but and it's quite an inspiration for me. So,
cool.
For a lot of people, I would probably Roger Waters, maybe for his lyrics.
Oh, all right.
Within the famous band he was in, not just to talk about specifically an instrumental person. So that's just 2. Well, you talked about my father before, and I must say, if I'm working in this industry, it's because of my father, because he was from the southwest of France, not far from Bordeaux, and he had a wonderful cellar. And the reason why I got interested into great wine and spirits is because of him, definitely. And I need another one.
Makes it tough, huh?
That's the most difficult question of the day, I can tell you. I like probably to I don't know. It's
I love this question.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I got to give props to Leo.
Well, probably a writer. So I'm not going to mention François Rabelais, who is a famous writer, humanist, philosopher from the Renaissance times, because he's part of the family tree of the Frapin, so it would be maybe too obvious, but he was very influential and very modern at that time. But I'd like to mention probably Albert Camus as a writer.
Oh, okay.
Which I think with his I think the books that he wrote are just amazing and goes beyond just literature, but also a great philosopher and also a great humanist and person very close to people, and that was going against, the difficult times of the 20th century, but also against establishment. So I think he's
So I got one real quick for you, Bertrand. I like this one here. So in a fight, in a cage, a grizzly bear or a shark, who wins?
This is taking out all conventions.
In a cage with water or without water?
Take it all out. Who wins, a bear or a shark?
I'm tempted to think it's a bear. I don't know why, but
yes.
I would have gone
I
with
think
the shark.
that is because speed and strength is not everything, and
Correct.
something in the mind is important as well. And I'm not a specialist, but I've got the impression that the bear has probably
He's gonna
Probably.
outsmart him.
Listen, he's just like this XO. He's complex.
Oh, we had to get that in there.
Had to get it in there.
No.
Man.
Well, thank you. So again, thank you so much, Bertrand Verduzier from Frapin. Big round of applause. Can you get a round of applause?
What? You want a round of applause?
Come on, we need an encore.
You need an encore?
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, we really appreciate this. Like I said, we could go on and on. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yes, thank you.
We are so excited about. There it is.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. But next time we will, because we really started the conversation. Maybe next time, if you want to invite me again, we can
for sure.
talk about another part of the production, which is aging specifically. And
Yes, I wanted to get that today.
And the way we approach the oak and the barrels and all that. I just wanted to mention that because it's very important. Just because you said, can't be just about wood and all that. No, and understand what the wood brings and how you can manage the aging in various type of cellars and what the wood is doing.
Oh my God, yeah.
It could be another conversation. But
that's a whole other show.
That's a whole nother show.
Part 2 in the fall.
Right.
Bertrand Verduzier and oak. That's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to enjoy this, everyone. So PM was very kind in giving us the Frapin extra. So we're very excited to try this after. We're going to toast one to you.
Oh yeah.
And if you guys are looking for this, I know it's not in Georgia. Well, it is in Georgia technically, but you can find it in the States now. If you need any, more information, go to pmspirits.com. Nicholas and Merrill and all those people up there will be able to help you out. Or you can come to my house if you want to drink it. So just saying. But again, thank you so much, Bertrand. Au revoir. Merci.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Leo. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
care.
Enjoy the extra. Okay.
All right,
bye-bye.
We will.
And that is Mr. Bertrand, everybody. That was a lot.
That was a lot.
Information.
Yeah, it's hard to like these people. I mean, you want.
I want it all. But it's
so
it's to sit down over a drink.
I know.
And be able to capture all this.
Yeah,
stuff, I know.
It's
a lot of information.
It's crazy. But let's sneak in our fired up because I know we wanted to do that to begin with.
You want to sneak in fired up?
Yeah, let's do fired up.
Are you sure you want to do fired up?
Yeah, let's
you want to get into this
do
fired
this.
up?
I mean, we got Naomi here. Let's talk about it.
You want to get into fired up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's do like a quick fired up.
Here we go. We are getting fired up. Nick, you got something on your mind, man. So
yes.
what's going on?
Yeah. So, we were talking about this before. We were at PCA and we were talking to, actually, I think a couple people brought this up and, having, so specific Black owned areas in your cigar bar or in your humidor. And, for me, again, I'm not like privy to this whole thing because again, I've been into a lot of humidors, but I've never seen this designation.
Right.
And obviously you have your opinion on this and Naomi being a humidor manager at Cigar City, we're going to get Naomi in here.
It's good on
and she has a Black owned section. So to me, and again, I don't want to get too philosophical about this and go off, go into the deep end, but I guess for me, it's like, do we need it? How important is it or how not? I mean, does it make sense to start designating things like this, whether it's in a section of a bar or a section of a humidor, etc.? And what are your thoughts? Because obviously Leo and I have our opinions, and you're doing it firsthand. So tell us a little bit about what you think about it.
So I work in Cigar City Club and I am a retail tobacconist, not quite the manager, but Cigar City is a Black owned cigar lounge. And we have a lot of local Black owned brands that we're able to introduce to our clientele. So by being having a section that's for Blacks, It allows
It's okay to say it.
it allows me as the person that is tending to our guests to introduce them to something that they may not have picked up in the traditional tobacco section. I'm able to educate them fairly on the cigar. I'm able to highlight certain brands that are local Black-owned brands, or even just brands that we all know that are African American or Black brands. So I think, or I feel the benefit of having a Black-owned section is basically to introduce people to something that they may have not otherwise grabbed because they're familiar with their traditional labels and brands that somebody told them about. Somebody told them about a Cohiba, somebody told them about a Padron, but no one has given them the education on this local brand, where the tobacco is coming from, the story behind the brand. So I feel like by having a Black section, it allows me as the retail specialist to give them that information that they may have otherwise not been had access to, because the traditional brands are always on the front and center. In Cigar City Club, we do rotate the Black-owned brands, so we do highlight them over in the traditional section as well. But again, if someone comes in and they're visiting, they may want to try, something local. So we may recommend Mega, we may recommend Honor, we may recommend, Big Boy. So there's a lot of opportunity to expose people to the Black brand that may have not otherwise had the knowledge or experience of the Black brand itself.
So let me say this. So the job is to educate, right, people on those brands that you don't know, right?
Mhm.
So, and again, I do have my own expression about this, but aren't we there to educate people about cigars and tobacco anyway?
Absolutely.
Does it matter if it's a Black brand or not?
I feel like I've had people that have come in and specifically seen the Black brand and got excited about the Black brand. So basically, people that are visiting from other states, they seem to be inclined to want to visit our Black-owned brand because, again, we are a Black-owned cigar lounge. So our clientele predominantly is Black smokers. So basically, by having a section that highlights it, it gives me the opportunity to speak upon it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to speak on the traditional brands. It just means that it highlights the brands that may not be in a retail environment in their local state or city.
So yeah, I mean that's a. So I understand both sides. I get that. I think, and you can go into the spirit. I mean, it can be applied to a lot of things. I mean, there are. The thing is there are a lot of spirits out there. They have no idea who they're owned by. I mean, does anybody know what P. Diddy owns? Or, I think he just Jay-Z. Like, so that's a good point. It's that do you want to highlight some of those people that are doing what they're doing? But yeah, kind of on Leo's side too. I'm like, we're in a general sense now, and I feel like, do you think people are doing it just to be sensitive to the fact that they have a section and that people are going to raise questions if you don't?
No, I don't feel that way. I feel like specifically, I can only speak to the lounge that I work in.
Yeah.
One of the owners, significant other, she has her own brand. That brand is there. It's an fused cigar. It's a Black-owned brand that maybe if it wasn't in the Black-owned section, someone may have went to a Tatiana or something else. It just gives exposure. It's not to separate and divide, but it's just more to highlight and give the exposure to the brand itself.
Cool.
So really what you're saying is that it's more about exposure. I heard you say that a couple different times. So when I think about exposure, so I managed a lounge in San Diego, right? And it was a boutique section, specifically boutique, right? Smaller brands. And I had some Black-owned brands in there. Nobody knew. Nobody cared. They said, "Where are your boutique cigars?" And I went, "There they are." And I explained all of them who they were. I never said that they were Black-owned or anything like that. People still gravitated to them. People still bought them. So, I mean, to me, just my personal opinion, I don't think that it needs to be highlighted because I'll never walk into Total Wine and I'll have a section or see a section that's going to be Black owned. And because John Legend has a wine, Mary J. Blige has a wine. God, I forgot who else. Kevin Hart even has a tequila.
What?
Yeah,
See, I didn't know that.
It's not that great. Sorry, Kevin. But I personally don't see the need to have that displayed or shown. I guess my man James said, I like to know about Black-owned brand cigars. Sure, I do too. I'm totally with it. You know, I want to know about them. But do they have to have their own section is what we're actually talking about here, James, to be like recognized. So you also said I smoke the traditional brands as well. Sure. Okay. But and your other point is, but I care more about quality.
Oh.
So if it's more about quality, is it necessary to point out that this is a Black-owned section? So now you're going to get into the humidor attendant saying, okay, this one has quality,
Right.
versus another brand.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Well,
so I wouldn't want to get into that because now I'm saying like, oh shit, now I got to point out which ones are better than the other ones.
but that goes back to Naomi's point, and I think this comes down to, you know, who's, you know, basically educating that person. You know, like Naomi, I mean, whether you have the section or not, like if someone needs guidance,
Mm-hmm.
you know, depending on what they're looking for, everything's inclusive. I mean, you know, you could point out, you know, Black Star or even ATL, which I know they, you know, Leroy's commented on that before in terms of,
Oh yeah,
you know, but and so I guess for me, it's more like I'll highlight that brand, but I don't necessarily like it's up to me to convey that information to them. But again, I get why you do it, and I think, you know, again, this is why we talk about it. We have people that are commenting that like to go in and know where to go,
Right.
and you know, I'm the same way with spirits. Like if I go into a spirit shop, I know where to go, and I'll ask if I need help.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get the guidance. Sometimes it's not always the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
But you have to hope that people are going to recognize that there are some extremely successful and great brands that are minority owned, and that's our job, is to educate them and to bring them to light. So but yeah, I think everybody's different in terms of,
Yeah, I think that when you look at spirits, like you mentioned, there are some African Americans that do have spirits, and based upon the marketing and advertising,
Yeah.
people may go in specifically for that particular bottle of spirit. So I think by having the section that we do that is for Black brands, it basically alleviates the having to say, hey, this is on the traditional wall, but this is a new and upcoming Black brand here in Atlanta.
Mhm.
We live in Atlanta. I would say that predominantly the lounge and retail, it encompasses the African American clientele. So basically, it just gives the clientele the opportunity again to be highlighted.
Yeah.
Even if I put them on the traditional wall, which, like I said, we do rotate them out, I still feel like there are some people that come in and they want to know about the Black brand, the new Black brand, something that they've heard about from smoking somewhere else that someone's mentioned. It's the same thing with the spirits. If it's been marketed or advertised properly, people are going to come in and ask about it, and it just makes it easier for them to navigate to that particular section to be able to pick up that cigar.
So I'm asking you this. I'm sorry, Nick.
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
ask you this. So there's a predominant Black presence here in Atlanta, right? There's a lot of Black-owned lounges. There's some Black owners that don't have Black-owned cigars in them. What do you say to them?
I say to them that it is ultimately up to you where you spend your money. So if you choose to go with the traditional cigar, you're in your right to do so. But I just happen to work in a cigar lounge where we do spend our money and our dollars with the Black community, and it gives them an equal opportunity to be on an equal playing field.
So what you're saying is that they need to go ahead and contribute. That's what you're really saying.
Well, what I'm saying is it's up to them if they do or if they don't. I think that by us having a Black section, it does allow Blacks, whites, whoever to come in and have the opportunity to try something that is maybe less known or is accessible in our lounge that maybe some other lounges do not have, because as you mentioned, there's some Black lounges that don't have Black owned cigar brands.
Yep.
That was good stuff.
Well, Nick was fired up about it.
I mean,
I have enough conversations about it within my own brain anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting discussion. I for me, just being kind of a novice and going in humidors, especially coming out of PCA, you get a lot of, again, education and knowledge, and there's these little things that just stick out to you, and it could be the band, it could be the tobacco, what is it, tobacco lera, the rolling, it could be a particular binder, it could be so many little things that just set you off. So for me, when I go in somewhere now, like I'm particularly like interested in it all, not necessarily who owns it or whatever, but what is the product itself? What is it giving me? But at the same time, it's I mean, we're behind the brand. We want to get to know the people that do this, because it is going to touch someone, like you said, someone that's going to come in and they're like, hey, I was listening to Nick and Leo talk about JM Patriarch. Like, tell me about this dude.
Absolutely. And also I want to mention about PCA, the way that the setup was, a lot of the Black brands may not be on the mainstream, so they were not in the forefront of the floor. So basically, as you're introducing the community of cigar smokers to these brands, it allows their brand to grow, which allows them to be brought from the back to the
That's
front.
a good point. We were talking about that at PCA.
Yeah.
Like someone was raising the question. They're like, oh my God, we're all being put in the back. Why are all the Black brands in the back? And I'm like, what?
I didn't pay attention to it at first, but when I really looked at it and analyzed it, with the BCA, Boutique Cigar Association, a lot of those are going to be the Black-owned brands, right? Black Star Line was not back there. Drunk Chicken was not back there. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. Do you think that made a difference because of their volume of sales, or was it because, hey, we just decided to pay more money to get a booth? What do you think?
I absolutely believe that as brands grow, they have more of a budget to be placed in the front center. So basically, if people don't know about the brand itself isn't making as much money as, say, a Padron or a My Father. So it gives them, again, the opportunity to be in the spotlight, and therefore the brand is known throughout the cigar community, and it allows them every year possibly to be able to move up closer to the front, where they get to rub the elbows with the name brands like Rocky Patel, like My Father, all of those brands like that. So I think that by exposing them, it gives them more opportunity to push the sales in their direction, which allows them to market and to be able to be presented equitably at PCAs.
So I'm gonna go a little bit further with this one, Naomi, because we're on the board of the media side of things for PCA. Do you think, and I want you to speak specifically to PCA, I want you to look at the camera and answer this question to PCA. Do you think that they should take the opportunity to put the Black brands at the front somewhere of the convention versus the middle to the back, to give them that exposure that you're talking about?
I think that what the PCA should do is what the PCA has been doing. And it's basically about, at the end of the day, the sponsorship. A lot of those brands that were in the front were sponsors for the PCA. And so if you don't have the capital to have a large setup and to put the money into being front and center, because everything is placement. So if you don't have the funds to do that, then you're not going to, I don't necessarily feel like it's the PCA's responsibility, but I do feel like in the community that we live in the community that we frequent, the lounges and the retailers, I think it is our opportunity and our I think it's in our power to basically give everybody an equal chance where they may not have had it in some other places.
Well, and just for me, just observing, it seemed like, just going around seeing Kevin from Conscious and Eric from Black Star and Desiree from Drunk Chicken, they were interacting with everyone.
Mhm.
So we were seeing them interviewed by other people and talking to bigger brands. Like I think they got, we'll take the placement out of it for right now. I get what you're saying, but I think it's all up to all of us as vendors, as media, as participants to make it our point to make them a little more, put them more in the light. So
Yes,
it does
absolutely.
force like an organization like PCA to go, yeah, maybe we should mix it up a little, because as Leo has taught me, this is a huge industry, but everybody knows everybody.
Right. Absolutely.
And it was great to see them interacting with everyone on the floor. And that was the beautiful thing about PCA, is it's not necessarily like, yeah, I get it. Like, I love the PCA part. I think it's important. Was the placement great? No. And then,
Yeah.
maybe they move it to the middle next
Right.
year. There's things that you can always improve on.
Absolutely. So one of the brands that was there was Definition Cigars.
Definition.
I personally walked around that place several times, and I never actually came upon their booth. So that is to say that Definition Cigar is a brand that is well known in the Black community, and I don't feel like their placement was substantial as it related to the overall compass of the floor. But again, I don't know if it's based upon your sales, your marketing, your visibility.
Yeah.
But maybe
they were kind of tough to see.
Maybe
Like,
next year.
no, I'm not gonna lie. Like, they were in that like line where there was like 4 in a row and they were all blending together, and it's like you have like this much space. So
Right.
I get it.
Yeah. And also, if you look at the displays, some of the Black-owned brands had smaller displays, whereas the traditional brands had larger displays. And I do believe that has to do also with the brand itself having the equity to be
for
able
sure.
to do the placement.
Yeah. I mean,
Or even if Definition was all the way in the back, if their booth would have been a larger booth, it would have been easier to find.
Right.
Sure.
And so perhaps next year they'll be able to afford or be able to place themselves in a position where they're more visible.
we need to get on Jamon about that. Look, dude.
I'm not getting on Jamon about none of that, because that goes into how he does with sales and
I know.
how
I
the
think he's
product
going to
is
do
being
good this year.
Well,
He's got some good cigars.
Jamon has been going for the past 4-5 years now, and he has a hell of a product.
Yeah.
Talking about Definition Cigars, and listen, Black Star Line has a hell of a cigar too, or the brand. Drunk Chicken has a hell of a brand. Conscious has a hell of a brand. All of those guys are doing it from the ground up. And they are actually beating the streets, knocking on doors as we used to do things, and they're making their way into becoming that bigger brand.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I totally 100% understand that.
Yeah.
But James said something. He said, yeah, I think that it should be fair. Listen, we all know that life is not fair, James. I'm sorry, brother. It's just not the way it works. The PCA is not going to say, well, you know what, we need to be fair, because they're not going to necessarily be politically correct. That's where we come in, right? And this is what we have to put in front of the PCA and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you don't hear or don't understand about the Black-owned brands, right? So that's our job to be able to do that. Going to the last meeting, I got a lot more information, especially about the BCA, and what people thought about it. They thought that the BCA was great. They said it was fantastic. My first thought was, then why is it all the way in the fucking back next to the fucking food court? Right? Yeah, okay, everybody has to go back there to go to the food court. But shit, when we were there, there wasn't a lot of people in the food court. No. Everybody knows don't buy food at the food court at PCA, because it's too damn expensive, right? So you're not going to draw a lot of attention back there to that pavilion. So I think a good point, I can't remember which one of you guys said it, move the BCA to the middle.
Yeah.
Right? Give it some time. Let it be exposed a little bit. You know, take some of those other brands that we ran across. I'm not going to mention any names.
Yeah.
Put those guys, you know, leave those guys or put those guys in the back and let them also work their way up, because the BCA is an association
Absolutely
that's trying to draw a little bit more of attention versus just an individual brand.
Yeah. I mean, this is a conversation that BCA should have with PCA.
They're having it.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like and I loved the BCA. The problem with it again was it was very muddled. Like you're on a floor and you're seeing people stand around, but it's like, where is their, like, you know, their displays were, you know, it was hard to figure out who was who.
Yeah.
So again, just little things like that can give you a little more visibility.
Right.
But yeah,
you
know,
I think again it goes back to the PCA. This particular event is a trade show, so it's basically the purpose to give everybody the opportunity to get their sales in the retail environment. And again, I think it all depends on the capital of the brand as to how their setup is going to be. So, you know, it just more than not, the traditional brands have been well established. So they're going to have more money to like maybe put on fireworks and, you know,
DJs,
chandelier swingers,
right,
you know. So it just, you know, it just depends on your budget, I think, is a part of it. And then your visibility. I definitely think that if you are a Black brand and you attended the PCA, you know, if you're coming back next year, use that time to interact with some of the bigger brands, form rapport with those people, because it's always somebody that's willing to pull you from the back to the front once you make the proper connection.
Well, I'll make a real quick point, and this is probably helping Jamon. I mean, he did a collaboration with Luciano.
Absolutely.
And that is going to stick with me.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it is up to those brands, you know, when they're getting their retail customers in, whether they're new, current, old, it's their job to keep those relationships and to kind of push the boundaries.
Right,
like
absolutely.
Link up with a Luciano or whoever.
Yeah. It's just like ATL
people,
cigars.
but you know what I mean?
It's just like ATL cigars, you know, hooking up with Luciano.
Yeah.
Had they not been, they may have been in the back as well.
Correct.
You know? So it is all about your relationships, your marketing, your budget, and just like the ability to be visible. And I think that it starts in the community. And so we're in Atlanta. There is a bunch of cigar lounges. There's a bunch of retail places that you can purchase a cigar, and some places have some and some places don't. And if you're interested in more Black-owned brands, do come to Cigar City.
There you go.
We have them all.
Shameless plug.
Yeah,
but there you go.
I say the same thing. You know, I mean, like me and Leroy, we had a conversation about this. Me, Leroy, me and Peter, me and Janelle, we had a conversation about this. Is that, you know, when you say support local, ATL Cigar Co. is a local brand. Yeah. Why is it not in every fucking cigar lounge in Atlanta?
Yeah, that is.
I don't get it.
That is something that still baffles me. We've talked about this.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not an ambassador for ATL Cigar Co. I'm an ambassador for BNL behind the brand only. But what I do see in this industry, being a cigar lounge manager and been around for I don't know how many years now, 8, 9. You always want to support local. When I was in San Diego, I did all my shows surrounding local brands, you know, to get that exposure to the rest of the country, the rest of the world. Why is it so hard to support local? Because I know in Dallas, definition is all over the place.
Yeah,
they're all over the place.
Do you think it's and this is just coming from working for 2 local companies, my last 2 jobs,
right?
I mean, we shove local down people's throats. Do you think it's becoming like the word craft? Like, is it being overused? Like, because we're local, does it 100% mean you need to have us? I mean, the product's got to be, and this doesn't apply to ATL Cigar because obviously their products are good, and you know we can still call them a locally owned company. But let's be fair, like they're getting big. But that's my thing. Like, I can't tell you how many times I went into a bar and like my first like pitch was we're local. And it's like, do we get into this like, habit of like, we know what sells, whatever product we're selling, and the local aspect is great. I mean, it is great because we want to support people in our community, but it doesn't always translate into better.
I think
guess.
local for someone like you, who was with the previous company, to me, it meant that I can get my shipment quicker.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Now, ATL, because they are being distributed through Luciano,
that is a good
it takes on a different thing, right? Black Star Line is being distributed through Illusione. That takes on a whole different approach too. You see what I'm saying? But whenever you have that local company, when you have a Honor Cigar, when you JM Patriarch, that means that you can get your things a lot quicker.
You would. You're
so local is fine to use whenever you are that local company. But when you take a ATL Cigar Co., which now is being distributed, right, when they were individual, when they were independent, why not jump on that bandwagon?
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. I don't understand why they're not in more places either. Even before, I mean, it's great that it's really great they have Luciano now. But before Luciano, they were still making good stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's like, what?
So what I would say is that it's about, again, the relationships in the community. So if you go to a brewery, they're going to have a local, a local beer on tap. So it's about going to the places that are in the community, forming the rapport, letting them try your product, and building the rapport so they'll put your stuff on the shelves. There may be some places locally that don't like some of the brands that are local. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to do that. But it is about touching every place that you can that covers the span of what your radius of locality is, and being placed in those cigar lounges. But you have to be able to build a rapport. You have to go into those places, and it just requires a lot of foot traffic. So I think that's really what it boils down to: the foot traffic, the rapport, and having a quality stick that people enjoy, so that they'll place your stick in their lounge or retail store.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
I think we got fired up on
See, that's why I wanted to do it at the end.
I love it. And I really got to say big ups and thanks to Naomi for coming in and sitting with us, seeing what we do. I think that PCA needs to talk to people like us to be able to understand what's going on in the cigar community outside of Rocky Patel, Gurkha, and all those other brands, because we ran in not only a black brand, we ran into a company, Rebellion. And we had a damn good conversation with those guys.
Love the Brits.
If you don't know Rebellion cigars, check them out. They have a hell of a story.
Swindon, UK.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, good stuff. So you never know. And I think for us, for you as a retailer, for us as, marketing, multimedia, whatever we do, and we do a lot, it's our job to be a vehicle for those people too, because they can't, like you said, they don't have the budgets. This is where we kind of come in, and we have to be a voice for them too if we believe in what they do. But you're right, it only goes so far. You can't make places put your product in.
Nope. And you know that firsthand.
When I was at PCA, I was at a party, and there was these guys from Canada, and one of the guys ordered some Uncle Nearest. And then he proceeded to tell me the story of Uncle Nearest. And I'm like, I know the story of Uncle Nearest.
Wait, you don't know the story? Let me tell you about it.
So basically, it's all about exposure. So in Canada, they may not have a place that's going to bring in Uncle Nearest, but somewhere along his route, he was exposed to it. And so he sought it out when he came to a place that offered Uncle Nearest.
Good.
Good stuff.
It's been one hell of a show. It's been a lot of thinking going on. It's been a lot of education going on, and hopefully we have brought you guys a little bit of something to think about. A little bit something to get into, go out and try. If you haven't tried Definition, if you haven't tried Black Star Line, Drunk Chicken, Conscious, who am I missing? JM Patriarch, which
ATL cigar.
ATL, right? I'm getting on JM Patriarch about being at the next PCA or TP. Or
Yeah, we're
something.
gonna get Maurice there, man.
Yeah, we got to get him there. So
Oh, let's not forget Mega Legends because they're super dope.
Yeah.
They have a really great cigar and it's doing well and it's getting placed in a lot of places throughout the
Mega
United States.
cigar.
Mhm,
All
Mega
right.
Cigars.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much packed in 2 shows because we were off last
we
week.
backed into
So, you
shows.
know,
we
whatever.
had to take off
We had.
last week.
Yeah, no, for sure. We wouldn't have been coherent.
Man, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, but
But yeah, it's always a good time, man. Thank everybody for watching live. Thank everybody who's going to watch afterwards. Again, we are sitting here at Smyrna Village Bourbon and Cigar. Smyrna
bourbon
Village
and cigar.
Bourbon and
You're
Cigar.
right.
I always get it wrong.
No, it's cool.
But thanks to Jimmy and his
Yeah.
staff.
Ooh, Jimmy's
you guys
setting up
come
something
on down
nice
here.
over here at the bar.
Yeah, come on down here, 1295 West Spring Street here in Smyrna, Georgia.
Any tickets
there's-
left, Jimmy,
Jimmy, any tickets left?
for tonight?
Jim,
Jimmy,
Any tickets left?
left for tonight?
any tickets left?
For tonight?
There's a couple
Still a
tickets
few
left, you
tickets
guys.
tonight for what are we doing tonight, Jimmy?
What's the drink for tonight?
Ooh, King's Family.
King's Family. All right.
Let's
all
take
right.
a look at this bad boy.
Ooh.
All
Damn,
right,
I
so
just
there
may
you
have
go.
to stick around.
All right, so looks like a boutique brand.
Yeah.
So yeah, come on down Thursday nights tastings here.
Yeah.
We're gonna be hanging. Oh, I don't know. We'll be hanging around.
We might be hanging around. We'll see.
But yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff. Good
You guys
show
come on,
today.
yeah. Come on down here.
Yeah.
Enjoy some cigars here at this location. Get over here to Village Bourbon and Cigar, 1295 West Spring Street. Once again, Thursdays are the whiskey tasting events. You can go online and get your tickets to reserve your spot. And the crew down here is 100% fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
Fantastic.
I love
So,
it. Here.
thank everybody for joining. Appreciate you guys.
We'll
Make
see you next
sure
week.
you follow Barrels and Leaves Behind the
Yes.
Brand. You do it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat.
Oh yeah.
I forgot where else. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. We're getting there.
And make sure that you do follow Jet Setters and Cigars, Naomi's brand, if you guys don't know about it. So I don't know. Maybe we can see Naomi a little bit again next
Yeah.
time. We'll see.
Yeah.
So James, thanks for chiming in, man. Rob, thanks for chiming in.
Felix.
Felix, thanks for chiming
Thanks,
in.
dude.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody who watches and tells everybody about us. And of course, the motto is tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah.
Hit the button, hit the bell, and make sure that you follow us every time that we go live. And we will see you guys again next week.
Yeah. We're gonna enjoy some Frapin extra after this.
After this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
hell
we
yeah.
getting ready to get into it. All right. Appreciate you guys. We are out of here. Peace.